Hey, good morning, guys. So today we march on to day 3 of 4 of using equations, multi-step equations, to model and solve word problems. So we'll quickly go over our do now, which should wrap up the last couple days. Number 1 says a pizza is $9 plus $2.25 per topping, $27. How many toppings do we have? So I'm going to just, put over here somewhere X number of toppings, right? So I'm doing this using shorthand just to kind of save ourselves some time on the video. But we know we would write a full let statement, right? Let X represent the number of toppings you have, and then we could write the two-step equation, right? So the pizza is $9 plus it's $2.25 for each of our X toppings, and that's going to give us a total cost of $27. And we should be able to solve the equation. It's going to give us 2.25x is equal to 18. So when we solve the equation, we're going to get x is equal to 8. All right. And we said if we want to check a word problem like this, right, we can't check our equation because we made the equation. There's no guarantee it's correct. So if we check the problem, we say, okay, $2.25 per topping. So 8 times $2.25 is $18 for the toppings, plus $9 for the pizza is $27. Number 2, Martha has some money. She spends 15, then triples her money, giving her 48. How much did she start with? So generally that question at the end gives us our let statement, right? How much did she start with? X is going to be the amount of money that she started with. And that will allow us to write the equation. So she starts with X money. Next thing that happens, she spends $15, so she's got X minus 15. She triples her money, so we have to distribute a 3, giving her 48. So when we distribute here, we end up with 3x minus 45 equals 48. I'll add 45 on both sides. So that's 3x equals 93. Solving the equation gives us x is 31. And again, if we're going to check it, we're going to go back through the problem. So Martha had $31. Spending 15 of those dollars leaves her with $16. Tripling 16 is 3 times 16, which should give us 48. That's our check. So today we're going to look at problems where we're generally finding two different quantities. So one way we can do that is what we call a system of equations, which we will spend a lot of time on, I'm hoping around December or January. But we can also use a single variable, which is what we're going to talk about today. So it says together a pen and a pencil cost 75 cents if the pen is 4 times as much as the pencil. So in general, whatever the smaller quantity is, and this is not an absolute, but in general, we're going to let our variable represent the smaller quantity. So the pen costs 4 times as much as the pencil. So I'm going to say let X represent the cost of the pencil. And then we're going to say, well, what else do we know? And it says, well, the pen is 4 times as much as the pencil. Well, that means if the pencil cost X, the pen costs 4 times as much, which is 4X, right? The cost of the pen. And then it says, let's go back to the beginning. Together, the pen and the pencil cost 75 cents. So the cost of the pen, which is 4x, plus the cost of the pencil, which is x, gives us 75 cents. Okay, that should be pretty easy to solve, right? Combine the like terms. All right, but we're not done, right? We didn't find 2 things, we found 1 thing. So we found x, which was the cost of the pencil. We also need to find 4x. So if x is 15, 4x is 4 times 15, which is 60. So these are my answers, okay? So if they're asking us how much do each of them cost, we really need to come up with 2 answers. And we'd be able to write those answers in a sentence. The pencil costs 15 cents, while the pen costs 60 cents. And as our check, we would look at the problem and we'd say, okay, well, 60 plus 15 is 75 cents. And the pen, which is 60, does in fact cost 4 times as much as the pencil. Okay, here's another one. We can use 2 variables, which again, we'll do a little bit later on in the year, or 1 variable. 60 centimeter piece of rope is cut in 2 pieces. The longer one is 10 centimeters longer than the shorter. So I'm going to let S represent the shorter piece. And if it says the longer is 10 centimeters longer than the shorter, then the longer one is going to be s plus 10. Now, could you say you want, x to represent the longer and x minus 10 to represent the shorter? Absolutely. Okay, it's not really going to make any difference. In general, we prefer to use addition versus subtraction if given the choice, but that'll work out just fine. And it says the rope in total is 60 centimeters. So when we add the shorter piece plus the longer piece, we should get 60 centimeters. So s plus s is 2s. Again, if you want to use x, if you want to use y, you can use any variable you want. I just want to try to start using different ones because I tend to just use x, and I want to show you some different things. So obviously the variable doesn't matter. So s is equal to 25, and we also have to find s plus 10. Well, that should be pretty easy. If s is 25, s plus 10 is 25 plus 10, which is 35. So how big is each? Well, we'd be able to write a nice sentence. The shorter piece is 25 centimeters, whereas the longer piece is 35 centimeters. Guys, as always, right, so I've got a bunch of these to do, and I've said this before, this word problems generally tend to take a little bit longer, right? Obviously, I've got to do the let statements, write the equation, solve it, check it, talk about it. So just make sure that you pause, right? If I'm going a little too fast, that's the good thing about having videos. You can pause, you can go back, you can take your notes, you can watch things over if you need to, if there's something that we didn't understand. And if we still have questions, obviously, we're going to post them on Google Classroom. All right, Jane's got 5 times as much as Max. Altogether, they have 72. Okay, so this one should be pretty easy. So who's got less? Max obviously has less. So I'm going to let M represent the amount Max has. And now it says Jane's got 5 times as much. So that's 5M. So the amount Max has plus the amount Jane has altogether is $72. So this is another pretty simple equation, right? 1M plus 5M is 6M. Right, divide by 6. So we get M is 12. And then we say, well, what's 5M? Okay, so 5M is 5 times 12, which is 60. So I'm going to say M is 12. And 5M is 60. So that doesn't explicitly answer the question. So what we would do then is we'd write a sentence. Max has $12 and Jane has $60. And if we add them up, we get 72. And if we check it to make sure that Jane's got 5 times as much, 5 times 12 is 60. All right. Max has 400 now, which is 10 more than twice as much as Jane has. So we're going to say, what's different about this one? Well, we know what one of the people has, right? Whereas last time they were both unknowns. Now we just want to know how much Jane has. So it would make sense to say let X represent, or J represent, I'm going to say the amount Jane has. Right, now this should be fairly linear, as far, in the sense that, the equation I think should be pretty straightforward here. So it says Max has 400, which is, so 400 is 10 more than twice as much as Jane. So Jane has J. Twice as much as Jane has is 2J plus 10. So 400 is 10 more than 2J. Now, for those of us that prefer to see it this way, because I've seen some of you guys in your homework rewriting the equations, that's fine. Doesn't really make a difference. I'm going to solve it the original way, but if you like the way on the right, then by all means do that. So it's going to give me 390 is equal to 2J. Right, so here there's nothing else to do. In other words, we don't have to go back and substitute. Right, we're going to write the sentence that says Jane has $195. We say, well, how would we check it? And we say, well, Max should have 10 more than twice as much. And we say, well, if Jane has 195, what's twice as much as she has, right? And if we double that, we get 390. And 10 more than 390 is 400. So that would be our check. All right, similar, right? So Fred has 3 less than twice as many as Samantha. Together, they have 21. So we're really going to want to let the variable represent Samantha's fish. If we do it with Fred, it's going to be really hard to write the equation for Samantha. So we're going to say let X represent the amount Samantha has. And it says Fred has 3 less than twice as many as Samantha. So what's twice as many as Samantha? That would be 2X. What would be 3 less than that? 2x minus 3. Just be very careful. If you put 3 minus 2x, we're obviously going to make a very big mistake. When we're talking about less than a number, especially with the variable, we're always subtracting, right? 3 less than 10 is 10 minus 3, not 3 minus 10. So 3 less than x is x minus 3. And 3 less than twice x is 2x minus 3. So then the next part should be easy. Together they have 21. So the amount Samantha has plus the, sorry, I didn't put this here, the amount Fred has which is 2x minus 3 equals 21 in total. I'm going to combine my like terms. So we get 3x equals 24. So we should get x is 8. And we're going to say, well, what's 2x minus 3? Well, now we actually have to do the substitution. Okay, so we're going to say 2x minus 3 equals 13. So what is our answer? Samantha has 8 fish, Fred has 13 fish, and altogether they add up to 21 fish. All right, guys, so there's your now try. Very similar to the one we did before with the rope, except it's got a two-step expression, right? 3 less than 5 times the shorter. So think about the last problem we did and put that together with the problem we did about the rope. You can pause it, work it out in your notebook, and then you can come back, right? So I'm going to say let x represent the shorter piece. Now, what do we know about the longer piece? It's 3 less than 5 times the shorter. So here's 5 times the shorter. Here's 3 less than that. So that's 5x minus 3. And altogether, it's 75. So x plus 5x minus 3 is 75. Combine the like terms. Right, add 3, divide 6. Should give us x is 13. So now we're going to go back and say, well, what's 5x minus 3? Well, that's 5 times 13 minus 3. So that's 65 minus 3 is 62. All right, so when we write our answer, we would say the longer piece of rope is 62 centimeters. The shorter piece of rope is 13 centimeters. And altogether, that sum would be 75 centimeters. So guys, this is your homework, okay? So once again, you are not going to be writing out the question, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to write a let statement, or in some cases, 2 let statements. Basically exactly what I did, right? You're going to write out your let statement or let statements. You're going to write your equation, you're going to solve it, and the one other thing you're going to do is you're going to write your answer in a sentence, right? So I didn't do that, I dictated it, I said what the answer was. Since I'm only giving you 3 problems, I want you to also write it as a sentence, okay? So if I was doing, just to go back to the last one, you would see all the work that's there, right? You're not going to copy the problem, let x represent, let 5x minus 3 represent. You would solve the equation, you can box it like I did there, and then you would wrap it up by saying, the shorter piece is 13 centimeters and the longer piece is 62 centimeters. All right, guys, as always, any questions, comments, concerns, you post a comment on Google Classroom and I'll get back to you.